Hi, I'm Sarah.
And I'm David. We got to talk about these live feed updates for Big Brother 22 All-Stars.
But first, if you're new to this channel, please click subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Wow, I almost forgot what the heck I'm supposed to do.
And if you want to support us on Patreon, you can find the link in the description. We're just forgetting the words here.
It's Friday, y'all.
Yeah,
what?
Right.
Brain? What? No.
Yes. There's a lot of smoke in the air. It's like getting into our brains now.
Seriously,
so.
I don't know if you guys can see, but like my eyes are swollen. It's the air quality out here is horrible.
I know. I don't think I've ever been happier that I don't have big allergy problems, because everyone I know who has allergies is like, I'm miserable. This is horrible.
It's really bad. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I've regular allergies, and now just my face wants to go away. My face would just explode.
Just fold in on itself.
That's how I feel right now. But anyway,
yes,
let's catch up on Big Brother, because last night we were doing our video, our live stream during the HOH competition.
Yep.
But we ended before it ended.
We
so did. HOH is
drum roll, Dani.
Dani. It was
I am excited. I'm not thrilled that it's kind of the same power structure, but buckle up, folks, because I think it's just going to be this way. But I am kind of excited to see Dani make a move that she has to take ownership for, and not just plant seeds and gossip. I'm all right, let's see let's see what she's actually going to do here. But I think we were down to 4 when we ended our video, right?
Probably, because that's when it got interesting, because it was Tyler versus Cody, Dani, Nicole, basically. And I felt like everyone was just waiting for Tyler to fall.
All those other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was kind of waiting for Tyler to win it. I thought he was going to win this competition. So I was surprised when he fell, because he fell next, right? He fell before Cody, Nicole, and Dani.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, at that point, when you're down to those 4, I'm rooting for Tyler, because he would have probably put up Dani and Nicole. And that would have been super, super interesting. The other 3 people up there are all going to do the same thing.
Yep.
And that's not super, super interesting. So we didn't get that, though. After Tyler drops, I believe it was Nicole, and then Cody basically jumped after that and was like, I don't really want it. Give it to Dani.
Yeah, right.
Is what it looked like to me.
Yeah. And, when it was down to those 3, like you say, it doesn't matter who wins it. They were probably all going to do more or less the same thing. They have slightly differing targets, but it's not going to change. All 3 of them are good with each other, so they had nothing to worry about. So I totally understand kind of giving it to Dani. I wouldn't want it again if I were Cody too, because he's already had an HOH and he does not need to win that one if Dani's going to be in power. So
exactly. So very quickly, Dani tells Nicole what she had already said, that her plan was going to be Kevin and David.
Yep.
Got to go the easy route. Those are the
2 of
people,
the biggest targets in the house. Kevin and David. Huge threats to win Big Brother All-Stars.
Huge threats, you guys. Absolutely. One of them doesn't know where he is. The other one can't figure out what's going on. Absolutely. Those are the 2 to put up. Now, she has a mild good reason in the fact that she wants Day to herself. She wants to pull Day in even closer. So she wants to get rid of any numbers for Davon.
Yeah.
That's the only good reason I can pull out of what Dani has said.
Yeah.
But, ultimately, she's not touching her actual alliance members.
Yeah, she's truly running out of options at this point. If she's not going to target anyone in her alliance, and I think if she were going to, Tyler is the most likely person in her alliance that she would target, but I don't think she wants to take that big of a swing right now. And so without those 5 people, Memphis, Tyler, Nicole, Cody are all off the table. and Christmas probably to a certain extent, and even Enzo, what are you left with? You know, it's like they have just successfully picked off not even the other side, because they were in a numbers minority, but they have just picked off anybody who has not been working with them. And the pickings are slim at this point. She told Devon that she's safe. She has nothing to worry about. So, you know, she's kind of off the table as well. So we've got Ian, Kevin, and David left essentially to choose from. So that's where we're at.
Her pickings are so slim that it's actually kind of entertaining, because she's going to have to pick a little bit more. Because you guys, don't forget, little Mr. David has a power.
I know. This is what is going to make this week interesting.
Yes.
Because at this point, like, we'll get into all the one-on-ones that Dani had with everyone, because there were some interesting conversations. But feeds are down right now for noms, and more than likely, it's going to be Kevin and David. It's going to be Kevin and David. That's what she's been telling everyone. Yeah. It is. Yeah. But he's going to use that power. When he uses it, we'll see, but he's going to use it.
Yes, exactly. What we know is he doesn't have to use it ahead of time. I mean, that's amazing. Usually you have to have like feelers out. Are they going to put me up? He doesn't have to know. And boy, was that clear when he did his one-on-one with Dani. Let's talk about that. But so he's going to be nominated, and then they'll all get up from the nomination ceremony and they'll start doing their traditional hugs. And then I believe he'll just slowly make his way over to the DR. Excuse me, DR. He'll disappear into the DR. I wonder if anyone will notice, like, wow, David made a beeline. Where's he going? And then shortly thereafter, the lights will flicker or something.
Right. And the disruptor is going to show up on the TV screen in the living room. And
and then they'll be like, who to what now? And I do believe everyone in the house will be like, what? David had a power?
No, like, that's going to be the shock. It's not even going to be like, ooh, a power got played. What is the disruptor? It's going to be like, David won this? What?
Amazing. So that's going to be super entertaining. And like we said, Dani's like, I don't got a lot of options here. So the fact that she has to come up with a third nom fairly quickly, and then still has the potential to have a veto in play to take one of those people down, and might have to put someone else up again.
I know. I mean, I don't want to get excited about that, because we have hatched up so many dream scenarios every single week this season, and they never pan out.
Yeah.
But that would be entertaining.
Right.
If that were to happen. I mean, should we get into some of these one-on-ones that happened like last night and today? Like last night, you know, her plan, like you said, was kind of set from the beginning, that it was going to be Kevin and David, but Kevin is a pawn in her eyes here. Dani actually likes Kevin, and she doesn't want him to go. She's targeting David for whatever reason. Again, like you say, it's just the easy move here. I did read something in some conversation last night. I wish I had time to like go back and actually catch it on the feeds, but she said something about potentially needing Christmas as a pawn if the veto were to be used, but she's kind of thinking Christmas would say no. Little does she know that Christmas has her own power that could prevent her from being used as a replacement nominee after veto. I don't think, we talked about this a little bit before we started rolling, but we don't think that Christmas's power can block her as a renom after David uses his, right? It has to be held for veto.
Yes. So that's where it's tricky, is because her relationship with Christmas has definitely changed. Like, they had a one-on-one today, and Dani gave her no information, did not even say I'm putting up Kevin and David, like gave her nothing. So she definitely feels differently towards Christmas ever since that blow up. And I think in her mind, Christmas is someone you put up as sort of expendable, like whatever.
Right.
Can't really target her yet because of the whole alliance thing yet, but like whatever, if she ends up on the block and goes home, we don't really care kind of thing.
Yeah. Right.
So it's possible. And yes, Christmas does have that power that I feel like Christmas would use on herself or Tyler, because Tyler's the other possibility here. So let's talk about that. Right. That came up quite a few conversations today about like, do I backdoor Tyler?
Mm-hmm. And it even came up with Tyler. Like she wasn't saying, of course, like I'm thinking about backdooring you, but he says to her, like, if you nominated me or backdoored me, I would understand. Like he just says it right out to her, which I was kind of surprised to see that.
So last night, Tyler thought, apparently, this is what I'm piecing together from different conversations. Tyler thought that Dani when they were on the wall said something like drop.
Yeah.
And he thought she said like
go down or something.
Yeah.
But she's saying she said good luck.
Yeah, she was like, I would never tell him to drop. Like, what's he talking about? So she was like, he also was like, look, if you have to put me up, go for it. I get it. I deserve it. Like weird stuff like that. So she is nervous about him and weirded out by him, even though they've kind of cleared the air. She doesn't trust that he's not coming for her. So she's like, do I need to pull this trigger? Like, he's in the alliance. She knows that Cody and Memphis and Christmas would be mad at her if she went after Tyler. But like, does she need to actually worry about Tyler?
Yeah.
So in that sense, hey, if the veto is used, maybe I'll go after Tyler is where she is right now.
Mm-hmm.
But she's like not even going to get to that point. The David thing will happen first.
Right.
So does she put Tyler up then? Or does she put Christmas up then? Or does she put Ian up? Like Ian's the only other person in that group?
Yeah, she may go ahead and put Tyler up. I mean, it seems like she would want to backdoor him more than like give him the opportunity to compete for veto. But she did make a comment on the feeds today about, she's like, Tyler just feels like the veto chip magnet. Like his chip is pulled every week. So she may kind of feel like he's going to play no matter what, if I put him up or not. So, you know, she may just be like, well, whatever, I'll just put him up now. But I don't know. I just feel like, would she put up Ian instead? I mean, she kind of had, I don't really know where the two of them stand. They did have like a somewhat open conversation today. Like she told him her plans and they were kind of thinking about, you know, is the double evictions coming up? What kind of like they're thinking ahead together about what's coming up in the game and like where they stand if certain things happen. But, you know, again, because the pickings are so slim, I'm like, would she put up Ian in place of David, you know, when that happens?
Yeah. Yes, Tyler does know about Christmas's power. You guys. And also there was a question that I missed in the chat about if David pulled himself down with his power, could he be a replacement nominee? And no, once he pulls himself down, he's safe for the whole week.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm.
So the thing about Tyler and Dani is like, she doesn't really want to pull that trigger, but she might be up for it. So I do agree with you that I think she really does want to wait until after the veto and just like not pull that trigger too soon. So I think that she is going to have to scramble and do like probably a Christmas, like throw up a Christmas. She's not like, she's supposed to be working with Ian. So I don't know that he would be as, even though he's expendable to her, if she just all of a sudden threw Ian up, I don't know how he reacts to that.
Right. Yeah. And the truth is like, is Ian coming for Dani? I think Ian has other targets, doesn't he?
Well, he said he was one of those that I don't know if he's all talk, because he said he'd put Dani and Cody up because he's trying to disarm, in theory, he's trying to disarm Nicole. Like he wants Nicole all to himself. Right. And those are the two people with her. But I don't know if that's all talk. I don't know if he would actually do that because it does look like he's working with Cody, Nicole, and Dani. Their little
because I was going to say, like, you know, if Ian's not targeting Dani, then I think Dani would be smart to not put Ian up and put Tyler up because Tyler is targeting her. But with both Tyler and Ian at least having Dani on their radar, then, you know, either one works. No, but I think she has differing levels of awareness of like who's coming after her and who's not in those two cases.
Yeah, so I'm super excited for her to be like flustered and like, oh my God, who do I put up now?
Yeah.
It's too,
I
I
think it would
can't.
be Christmas. I think
Yeah,
if it's like an immediate thing, I'm not fully aware of like the mechanics
right.
of the timing. Like David says he's coming off the block, he's going to be safe. Does she have to do a replacement nom immediately? Because she's not ready for
Mhm.
that. She does not have a backup plan here. It is Kevin and David. She may have a
Right,
veto plan, but this throws a
right.
whole wrench in that.
Yes.
So I would
I
think
think this
that,
is different than a veto plan for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. And I think she would default to, who am I just not talking to at all? And that's Christmas. She didn't talk game with Christmas at all in the one-on-one. So I think that's kind of an
Yeah.
obvious, like,
And
okay,
yeah.
I'm not working with you anymore. And I didn't necessarily want to tell you that yet, but get up there.
Well, I think she'll play it off of like, oh God, Christmas, I just didn't know
Oh,
what to
of
do. I had to
course.
throw someone up
Of course.
there. And
Yes.
like, you're just a pawn, obviously. Oh,
Right.
to be like that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I would love it if that happens and then Kevin wins veto and takes himself down, and then she has to come up with another nominee. Y'all, that's what's exciting.
See, I was just thinking, what if the opposite happens? Christmas is up there. She wins veto, saves herself, uses the blocker on Tyler.
Oh.
Then what does Dani do? You know what I mean? Like, that would be crazy.
That would be super messy. That would be so much fun. They did talk about, so she kind of was playing, or like not planting seeds, but like just sort of letting Memphis in on like, because she was worried if I backdoor Tyler, is Memphis going to be mad at me? And she was like, look, this Tyler like threw out my name, like told some information. I'm worried about him. And so Memphis was like, oh, I get it. Okay. Yeah. I mean, like, hopefully we don't have to attack our own numbers, but if the veto's used and you want to go after Tyler, like he was like, that pisses me off. So I get it. I would go after him too.
Yeah.
And they both agreed, like, but you can't let Tyler have any inkling that this would happen because he might have a power. And they were like, you also just can't tell Christmas. Christmas would lose her mind if she thought you were going after Tyler.
Yep. Because they've kind of clocked that they probably
Christmas.
have a final two deal. Christmas and Tyler. So they're like aware of that.
After last week, they made it so obvious. But that's the thing. So if they do keep it a secret from Christmas, then she doesn't know to use her power on him.
True.
But if they're like, okay, we'll just tell Christmas last minute, like, sorry, don't be mad at us, but we have to go after Tyler, thinking they're just like giving her a last minute heads up. Christmas is going to run into that DR and she's going to be like, I'm using my power.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. I mean, lots of possibilities this week, but a lot of things have to fall in place for it to get super interesting. But I am glad that the David thing is like a given. That's going to happen. And I don't think she's ready for having to name a replacement, because like she has one replacement nominee plan and she's not even really thinking about that yet, because she's like, I'm going to wait till veto to kind of see how that plays out. It's great. It's going to be great to see her scramble and figure out what to do to replace David.
I'm very excited about that, because that we do know is a definite. And then I really do hope there's also veto mess so that we can get
I know.
all the blood, put all the blood on her.
Yes. Now, obviously, we know she's not going to put Nicole up at any point. Yeah. She's safe. In the one-on-one that Dani had with Memphis, she told him, like, I'm not coming after you. And he said, I'm not coming after you either. I thought we had like an unspoken thing, but they just kind of confirmed that they're not coming after each other. I thought some of the conversations I saw between her and Cody were interesting. She's not targeting Cody, at least not yet. But there just seems to be a little bit of distrust surfacing in that relationship, because she says like, oh, Cody, I promise I will never nominate you and I will never vote to evict you. And he goes, but you would get other people to do it for you. And she's like, no, I wouldn't. And he's like, oh, I'm kidding. But it's like, no, you're right. Like, that's exactly what she would do. And you know that because you've seen her planting seeds all season long to get people out.
Yeah, I mean, her and Cody have an interesting relationship because it is a little like very close and flirty.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're both on to each other's games, and Cody is more aligned with Nicole. So Cody and Nicole are the two that like tell each other everything, especially that Dani does. So they're working with Dani and they want Dani to stay, you know, a long time, but it's really the two of them that will eventually probably cut Dani if it gets down to like a final three. But yeah, it is funny because they both sort of call out each other's games in like a flirty way. Julie, thank you so much for the super chat.
Thanks, Julie. Great name.
Yes, we are going to talk about that in just a minute. We have to talk about the whole Ian situation. But I want to go back to what Shut Up Kristen is saying, because there's two different conversations and the internet is getting them confused as if it's one conversation. Kevin read Julie's lips that said something about Christmas and Dani. And he was like, and then Christmas was the first one to vote, or Dani was the first one to vote. He told Davon that last night. But that's separate, because what the wall yeller said earlier this week, we've had so many wall yellers.
Yeah.
Earlier this week, the wall yeller said Tyler and Christmas have a final two, and David has a power. So today, there's a lot of talk about the Christmas and Tyler final two. And then Kevin, unfortunately, didn't hear David has a power. He heard Tyler has a power. He thinks that's what he heard. So that's what they've been talking about today, is that the wall yeller said Christmas and Tyler final two, and Tyler has a power. That's completely wrong. But that's what they're saying. So the internet was like, oh, Julie revealed this final two, but that's not what Julie said. That was the wall yeller thing. So I did want to clear that up, because there's confusion on those two different conversations.
And I just have to say that it is so very Kevin for him to hear the wrong information and spread it.
Absolutely. He's dead seriously telling everyone, I heard has a power. And he's like, so it was either Tyler or liar has a power. And it's like, what? It was David. Although I thought, why is the wall yeller outing David's power? I thought that was so weird.
Yeah. That's the only thing we kind of have to live for right now.
Yeah, exactly. But it's so funny that that's backfiring completely, and they think it's Tyler that has the power.
Well, Kevin, will probably do whatever he has to do to get whatever target off of himself this week, because Dani told him she's looking for pawns. She's got this plan, and he may kind of suggested that he may be a pawn, but she could get the votes for him to stay. She could throw the veto to him. He feels better about that, but he's like obviously upset. He's crying to Davon about this situation. He just feels like he cannot get a foot in this game, which is true. He cannot. But yeah, he's not feeling good going into this.
Yeah, he thought that he was friends with Dani, but that's what Dani does. She's friends with everybody. And so Kevin is hurt and doesn't understand why, he sat there and she was like, sorry, she didn't say you're going up, but she made it very clear. And so he left the room being like, what the heck? Like, I'm going up again, supposedly not as the target, but still doesn't matter. Like, he doesn't feel like he has an army full of people to protect him and get him the votes, which honestly is true. Like, nobody's rallying around him except for Davon.
That's why I think Kevin might be the one who goes home this week, because there's the potential. We're talking about all this potential for mess, right? And renoms and saves and powers and all this stuff. Like, the fact is, like, that can throw the house into this crazy tizzy, but other people, depending on like who goes up on the block, anybody else in the house can rally votes in a way that Kevin can't. It's probably just Kevin and David who are on equal footing in terms of being able to rally votes, and David's going to be safe. So, if a Tyler ends up there in like a backdoor situation, I'm not putting it past Tyler to like work some magic and rally votes to keep himself and send Kevin
my God.
home.
That's the biggest problem here, is that Tyler has the votes to stay. If like Dani's trying to gear herself up to do this backdoor, possibly,
Yeah,
thinking that if she put Tyler up, he would go. And that's not the case. Kevin 100% will go if he's sitting next to Tyler. Cody and Nicole just said to each other, I think it was just yesterday, that they were like, even if Dani does, this was before she even got HOH, but they were like, if Dani goes after Tyler, we're not ready to cut him yet. They want Tyler still in the house. So they're not going to vote him out. I don't know what they're going to tell Dani. But that might be one of those things where the HOH thinks it's going one way, but it does not go that way.
I think that might be it. Yeah.
Which would be
so I think Kevin just might be, you know, he's I think the most expendable person in the house for probably everyone in the house at this point. Yeah. So if it's like a chaotic week, the house may just decide like, okay, it's been enough. You know, we don't need, let's just like get Kevin out of here. I can't with the campaigning and the backstabbing and the this and the that anymore. We've had, you know, whatever, however many powers used this week. It's enough. We're just going to get Kevin out.
Yeah. He is like an easy person to just vote out, unfortunately. And it's sad that that's how he feels this whole game. But unfortunately, that is just how it is. His game. He doesn't really have anyone, and except for Davon, and he's
literally asking Davon to get information for him. You know, he's like, can you talk to Dani and find out like XYZ? And it's like, if that's where your game's at, yikes.
Yeah. And then honestly, Dani was like, Day was like, yes, I'm going to talk to Dani. She's like, this is so weird. Like, what? Let's not do this. She walks up there and Dani's like, yeah, I got to do it. And she's like, oh, okay. So it was like, well, whoops. Davon didn't have more fight in that.
Dani's like, I'm going to need your help, like calming him down once I do nominate him. And Davon's like, okay, got it. Like mentally preparing myself for that.
But here's the thing. Davon got the whole information. So she knew that Kevin was going to go up next to David. Well, Davon doesn't know David has a power. Davon wants David out. Like, she's not into his game. So she's thinking to herself, probably, okay, well, at least we have David up next to him. We're going to vote David out. No big deal. I'll save Kevin. But she, you know, David's going to take himself down and that's going to last.
Yeah. Like, not only is Kevin going to be devastated that he's on the block, now he's going to be extra devastated that like maybe the one person that he could beat in a vote is safe for the week.
Yeah.
he's going to be like, I have to win that veto. And he really will have to if he wants to be safe.
He will. And I mean, he did it before, so I hope he can do it again because that's fun to just mix it up. Because, Oh, another thing is his birthday. Thank you for reminding me. His birthday is next week. And he said that to Dani. He was like, oh my God. He was like, you're going to send me off to jury and I'll be all by myself for my birthday. Like, it was such a sad story. And she really does like him. So she's like, oh my God, no. If he goes out on my HOH, she's going to feel awful. She knows she lost a jury vote, which that's not good for you. So it's really not great the way that this is going to start out. Dani's also going to freak out. Kevin's going to be freaked out. Dani's going to be freaked out.
Yeah. Dani is definitely going to be freaked out. And I think, you know, she wasn't sure if she wanted this power to begin with. You know, I think she's, you know, been laying low. She's been throwing competitions. And so I think she is getting a lot more than she bargained for this week.
Yeah. We should talk a little bit about the Dani Taylor, everyone's calling him makeup, because so she is talking about backdooring him, and before he came in for a one-on-one, she said to Nicole, like, what do I say to him? She was like, I want to make him promise that he's not coming after me, kind of thing, just in case Veto doesn't get used. Like, we got to patch this up, kind of thing. So when Tyler did come in, she was like, let's make a deal. She was like, let's not go after each other until it's 6, the committee, you know, until it's down to the committee, then we can take shots at each other. And they shook on it. And Tyler was like, I'll take it a step further. He's like, I'll take it to Final 4. He's like, I won't come after you until 4.
Wow.
So I know she was only doing that half-ass, like to just in case she doesn't pull this trigger.
Sure.
I don't know if it's as fake for him. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. You never know what to believe, but that's a pretty good deal for Dani.
Yeah. I mean, if she does believe, if it doesn't happen this week and she believes that, maybe they won't go after each other. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, we're all hoping that they will, because that
I mean,
things interesting.
they're the only, honestly, it's the only excitement in the house, to be honest, that if those two go after each other.
Yeah.
Like, it would be great if she does try to pull the trigger and like maybe Christmas uses her power on him, like misses the shot. And so then he tries and they miss a little bit. Then we might have some excitement, but otherwise.
Yeah.
We're just going to take out Kevin.
The only way this is really going to get shaken up is if that side starts to take some swings at each other and they do actually miss, because that's when focus will shift away from all of these people that we're just picking off, and it will shift to the cracks in that alliance and who can we trust in. Okay, who's actually with who? Clearly Dani and Tyler are not together. Who's with Dani? Who's with Tyler? That will really mix things up. And then people like Ian and Davon and David, maybe can skate by for a number of weeks, because all of a sudden all of the focus is on the fractures in that group.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. I had a point off of something you just said, but of course I forgot it.
Is it about taking a swing and missing with Dani and Tyler? Who's with Dani? Who's with Tyler?
Oh, cracks in the alliance, because Chris, thank you, David. You're like, I'll name everything until you think of it. The cracks are showing in this alliance. I mean, gosh, finally. But Christmas is obviously getting different vibes since she misbehaved this week and people think differently of her. But she has been talking to Tyler and Memphis, who are her two closest people, about she's like, I'm really seeing like Cody and Nicole and Cody and Dani and Nicole, like really spending a lot of time together. And she like walked into a room and they like stopped talking. And she was like, it didn't even go to a different conversation. It was just nothing. So Christmas is picking up on it. She's talking to her people. Obviously, Memphis is getting the info about Tyler. They know Tyler and Dani. So the cracks are there. It's happening.
Yeah.
Well, I put that comment up when I meant to put something up. I meant to put this one up. She could play Dani could play her power and play HOH again, but she says since they just did endurance, it would be questions. And Dani's like,
she's bad.
She thinks she wouldn't win it and it would be a waste. So it sounds like she's not even going to play her power.
You have to. I think she will, because she doesn't know what's in store for her this week.
Oh,
when things get messy, I think she's going to realize, like, I have to do this. Like, even if it's a waste, this is the best opportunity for her to use it for herself rather than somebody else. And I think she's going to be like, oy, I got a lot more blood on my hands this week than I thought I would. And so I have a feeling that she's going to use her power this week.
That's a very good point. Because right now she's like, what would be the point? But in a few days, she might be like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
More people are coming for me. That's very, very possible.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about this Ian crap.
So on the feeds, Memphis has been openly making fun of Ian for, Ian's behaviors that he exhibits because of his autism. Dani has been saying things like, Ian's rocking makes me uncomfortable. I don't like to look at him when I'm talking to him. It stresses me out. And Nicole and Dani have been laughing at some of the things that Memphis has been saying. And it's been getting pick up in the news. Like I saw it on Newsweek. They were talking about this. And things are now happening with people's business relationships outside of the house. But people are also speculating now that either production gave them a heads up or gave them a talking to, or is just kind of asking about the situation in a way that is making the house guests think about how they're being portrayed on TV.
Yeah. So Memphis did say something about kicking Ian in the teeth. I just don't feel like we should be aggressive at all. Period.
No.
Like all of these comments about like, I'm going to cut you, I'm going to kick you in the teeth.
Yeah,
like,
what the hell is that?
None of that should be said. Like, especially like, I don't know. I just find Memphis to be super aggressive in general. So anyway, it's not a good look. It's getting a lot of attention, like you said. And Nicole Franzel has taken the brunt with the brands that she has that we've seen for sure that brands are canceling with her. I'd really like to see what's happening with Memphis's restaurants. Where are the Yelp reviews? I don't know.
Anybody.
Just so like more than one person is taking the blame here. But yeah, so something has come up in the DR. At first, it seemed like maybe they got a talking to of like, hey, don't bully someone with a disability.
Right. Yeah.
But this morning, Dani made it sound like the DR was talking to her and asking questions like they do when they're doing a segment, right?
Sure.
So if they're going to have a segment on a showman's, they're like, and how are your feelings about this person? Do you think you want to hook up? You know, right. So that's how you build a segment. So they're asking her questions about it as if it might be a segment. And she said to Nicole, like, have you had your DR about it yet? And she's like, no, please give me a heads up. Like, what is this? And Dani like looked up and saw the camera and she said, I'll tell you later when there's not a camera on me. But she also did say they've talked to Ian did his DR about it. So that makes me like, what kind of segment are you doing? Are you saying, Ian, people are making fun of you behind your back? Because like, that's not a good segment. Like what segment is that?
No, that's not entertaining at all. I mean, I think any segment about this is not entertaining. Right. Like, I hope they're not doing something. I mean, like, you know, I guess I'm conflicted about it because I don't necessarily want to like cover up this behavior, but it's not covered up. Like it's being picked up by the mainstream media at this point. Like people know. But I would not gratify this behavior with like a segment on the show. I don't want to watch that on the show itself.
I don't want the audience members who might have disabilities or feel bullied in their real lives to get a segment on being bullied. Like that's not and it's one thing if you have a segment because these people are having a conversation. Like if Ian had been bullied to his face and then someone apologized, like then Ian's involved. But if it's happening behind his back, like what? I hope they're not involving him and saying you're being made fun of behind your back.
Yeah, or like, I know. I hope not too. And, you know, now on the feeds, Nicole has cried about, you know, being worried that she's being portrayed as mean on the show. And I just have to say, like, we've joked lightly about Nicole crying a lot this season so far. But I really think the tears are inappropriate in this situation, just as they were inappropriate in the Christmas and Bailey situation, because Nicole is the one who was laughing, right? Ian is, if we're doing like who's the victim here, it's Ian. He's the one being made fun of behind his back, and Nicole is the one laughing about it. Whether or not she like said anything directly, she was laughing. So the tears are like an attempt to shift the power there and be like, oh, I'm crying, so I'm the victim, and you're just not. And I understand like feeling what she must be feeling, especially because she probably knows, like, I'm a social media influencer. This is my way of life now. And brands distance themselves from people because of stuff like this. And it definitely happened in previous seasons of Big Brother. Is that going to happen to me? But the tears, it's not a productive response. You just need to acknowledge you were wrong and be better. Period.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Yes. What he said, period. Everyone do better. Yeah. Remember, I was having flashbacks to when Rachel Riley told Nicole, your brand is watching. I was like, oh, snap. Literally right now, your brand is watching.
No, literally. They're watching and they're canceling their relationship with you.
Yikes. Yeah. It's gross. It's uncomfortable. And I'm not sure what's happening with the DR and the house guests, but I'm really hoping that we're not getting a segment that is glorifying bullying is what basically I'm hoping.
Mm-hmm.
So that is that about that, you guys.
Yeah, it's gross. Like I hate talking about it, but I do think it's important to talk about and, you know, acknowledge like, this is the bad side and this is the good side, you know?
Who's the victim here for real? Yes. It really just bothers me that Memphis, like we saw him be aggressive towards David. We're seeing him be aggressive towards towards Ian. And otherwise, Memphis is just going to, you know, nap his way through this entire game. No one's going to take him out. He's just as safe this week as he's been every week.
Right.
And here I was like, what? Like, I don't think he'll get the votes to win if he's in final 2, but like, I don't even want to get to that scenario.
No, if he gets to a final 2, I hope it's unanimous that he loses again, because like, I just am not a Memphis fan. And I don't think I'm going to be converted this season.
No, unfortunately, he's not winning me over at all with that. So that's the gross stuff that we have to talk about. But like we said earlier, if anyone is joining us later, the noms are happening right now. The plan for Dani is to put up Kevin and David.
Yes.
David, I just want to act it out every time. David's going to go to the DR.
Ding dong.
Ding dong. Then boom, boom, boom. David's going to not be a nominee anymore. The house is going to be shook. This is what we have in store for us for the next 24 hours.
I like that. I'm glad you did that twice, because now I have that in my brain as like Sarah's official prediction, and I can see it playing out. And now we can like compare and contrast with how it's going to work on the show.
My question is just like, how soon? Like, does David's not? He's too much of a newbie here. That like before they even like finish, like in the nomination ceremony is over, he's already going to be like up and like walking away. They're like, wait, David, wait, what?
Or he's going to like bang his hands on the table and stand up and be like, I am the disruptor. And production will be like, David, that's not how this works.
Hold on. Can we just finish the ceremony first? Hold on. He's like, when do I go? Do I go now? And they're like, what? Is it now? Oh, not yet? Okay. Come on, go ahead.
Oh my God. Yeah, that would be such a delight if that happened.
And then Dani's like, wait, what? But yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes down for camera.
I know. I'm interested to see like, what are the feeds going to be like immediately when they come back? You know, like, will something have gone down, or is David going to be able to keep quiet about it and be slick? I don't know.
I mean, if our feeds don't come back like a typical hour, like pretty soon, then it might mean that the whole disruptor thing is going down back to back.
Yeah.
So that will be interesting to see what the feeds are like when we come back. And I can't wait to see who she chooses for her next nominee, because like we both kind of came to the agreement that we don't think she'll jump to Tyler pre-veto. He is a post-veto choice.
Yep, I agree.
So that will be interesting. Well, those are the updates. I believe those were all the like big one-on-ones.
I think so. I think we covered most of them. We talked about Day, Christmas, Ian.
Yeah, Day
Nicole,
really
Cody,
is safe. I
Yeah.
saw a couple people in chat being worried that Day might be the next pawn, but I don't think Dani wants to do that. She's not mentioning that.
Yeah, I think if it were another HOH, maybe. You know, Enzo is like, for whatever reason, real frustrated with how poorly Davon did in the HOH competition. He's like, put her up there. 5 minutes. That's pathetic. Blah, blah, blah. I'm sick of her. Send her to jury. So like maybe if Enzo were the HOH, she'd, you know, be in danger. But I don't think with Dani. I don't think it's going to happen.
No. Yeah. Enzo has been like really upset with the females in his alliance not winning comps, that the men have had to do all of the work. But I find that super ironic, since this was his first HOH this season.
Yeah.
Like he didn't win, but it's not like he
first
won
HOH
all
ever.
the comps. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so just cool your jets just a minute. Like, okay. But, so Davon is safe. Like, I don't think, like, Dani will have to run through so many nominees before she hits Day as a pawn. So I think she's okay right now.
Yes.
All right, you guys, it'll be very fun to see. So David and I, remember the schedule's a little different the week coming up because the episode is on Tuesday this week instead of Wednesday. So we will see you on Monday, 5 p.m. Pacific. We will have our Sunday recap and Veto and what is it? Disruptor.
Yes.
Thank you. Destroyer. And then he was like, pew, pew, pew. Destroyer.
Yeah.
No, not that power. Okay. We'll have all of that on Monday for you guys. And then Tuesday, we'll be back after the episode.
All right. So we will see you guys next week.
Okay. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.